Hey guys, Dr. John Dandridge here, and I want to go over a few high-level concepts about how we help people who have been into car accidents. And I think one of the first things that we just have to be really honest with ourselves about is the severity of a car accident. I know that they happen each and every day, they're very common, but these things, the forces that happen and that are created when someone is in an accident can be very, very severe, and it can really have a negative impact on someone's health. And we have to realize that when an accident occurs, it is not, those forces are not just absorbed by the vehicle alone, right? Those forces are transmitted and absorbed also by the people who are inside the vehicle, the passengers, the drivers, and especially in their spine. And if a force from an accident can be so severe that it just destroys the steel that make up a vehicle, what can it do? What's the impact that it can have on the delicate structures of my spine? Right? We have to ask that question. And so if you've been into an accident, our recommendation is always to go get it checked out, right? If you go to a hospital, this is common, that's great. They're going to check and make sure that you don't have any fractures or there's not any kind of gross dislocations or anything that's really severe, right? But if we do not have a fracture, we do not have a gross dislocation, or we don't have anything that's really, really severe, that does not mean that everything is perfect, right? That does not mean that impact, that accident had no effect on my spine. And so that is why it's always recommended to go to a chiropractor. Have a chiropractor check your spine. We look at the details. We look at the spine through a structural lens because we know what the normal curvature should be. We know how the bones should line up. We know how well and the normal motion that joints in the spine should have. And anytime we deviate from that, anytime we get away from that, we will suffer some kind of consequence, right? Whether it's now or in the future. And it's very common with car accidents is that people will, in the moment, they feel okay, right? The adrenaline's pumping. We're hyper alert, we're hyper aware, we don't necessarily feel what's going on and the true consequences of that accident in that moment. Sometimes it takes months and months for those symptoms and the consequences of that accident to really present themselves, right? And so it's very important that if you've experienced or you have absorbed an impact like that, you got to get it checked out. You got to get it checked out because we can catch things much very early, right? Before symptoms start to happen, before crises start to happen, and all the pain and discomfort that can come from that, okay? All the stresses of life, right? The chiropractic is not just for car accidents. All the stresses of life can have a negative impact on the health of our spine and on our overall well-being. However, a car accident can be so great. It's just one of those things that we have to be cognizant of because it can set the stage. It can really set the stage for a lot of degenerative changes, a lot of problems in the future because the force can be so great, in that moment. And so it's unique in that way, unlike, postural stress from a job, sitting too much, certain repetitive stresses that we may have that we do as a part of a hobby or whatever, just the normal everyday stresses of life. A car accident is very different. It's in its own category because of the force and the strength of that accident and what it can cause to our body. So if you have any questions about your particular case, or if you've been in an accident and you're starting to feel things that aren't normal, or you have any questions whatsoever, just know that we're always open and willing to connect and have a conversation with you about your specific situation, and we'd love to talk to you about how chiropractic care may help you get over that and put you in a place where you can start to heal, feel, and function at a higher level. Okay? Thanks so much.